Welcome, by Billy Bounce. Wishers Peak out of bounds. What's going on here, there's a little area in between Riverside Chapel and Wishers Peak where we can menu cycle and get out of bounds. The reason why we can do that, the way the game does a number of these transitions, and there's a lot of these in the game, this is just one of the most useful, is there's a little trigger mat on the ground. If you hit that trigger mat, the game will then go into an animation, your character will walk through, and it will load the next area. But if you were cycling through the menu, you can actually cross over that trigger mat without triggering it. Now some games what they'll have a trigger mat and then there's an invisible wall behind it. Here it's just the trigger mat. So first time you can see I attempted it and I hit the mat. Even though I was menu cycling, I wasn't fast enough, hit the mat. What happens then? The game triggers animation and then you then walk to the next area. So I'm doing right now, I'm using a saber cat. That way I'm moving more steps per cycle. I'm making more distance, so I'll need to do fewer cycles to get across the gap. It happens here. I'll let it just play really quickly so you can see it happening in real time. Here in slow motion. It's the same idea as we did in the How to Unlock Dragon Warrior mode, or if you looked at the segment 1 work in progress, I went through in detail how that bridge skip works. Same idea. You want to get the menu open, first available frame into the menu, first available frame out of the menu, first available frame in the menu. And you notice the sound that you hear is that sound that means you've just triggered bringing up the menu, and that actually happens before you can see anything. So you want to be hitting the open menu button before you can actually see anything. So it's going to go full dark, that's the window. As soon as it's fully dark, that's when you're hitting circle to bring up the menu. If you see anything and you haven't beeped yet, it's too late basically. So if you're practicing, what you want to do is the fastest menu cycles that you can. Get to an area where it's nice and bright and so you can see the world map and you can see everything that's in front of you and do some menu cycling. What you want to be doing is into the menu, out of the menu as fast as possible, and then into the menu. And it's the into the menu one that gets kind of difficult because you actually want to be hitting it before you are back in the world map. And then the game will take a forward step and as it's going to the menu. There's actually a little bit of lag. You press the button, but it's not at the menu yet, and that's where you're moving. And then as soon as we're out, the game doesn't have any floor here, so we can just keep on walking. We fall through the mat because there's no reason for the game to put any floor here. So we can go out of bounds, and as soon as we're out of bounds, we can travel anywhere that we want to go. Once we travel over solid land, the game will then put us on that solid land. But what this means is we can get to areas that we normally wouldn't be able to get to until we finally had a way to fly, and that's the very end of the game. So I'm currently working this into my segmented run, and as you imagine, it's a very difficult trick, so it's going to take a bit of time before I have a good segment up where I'm using this. So that's useful for us because we can get to this little island over here, and on this little island over here, at night, there are liquid metal slimes that spawn. The point of the game we're at right now, this is the first time you even encounter metal slimes in this area on the way to Wishers Peak, or even if you're going after the Angelo cutscene in the Ruined Abbey. Those are the first two places you ever see metal slimes, and they spawn in groups of 1 and maybe a group of 2. Over here at night, there will be liquid metal slimes, and each liquid metal slime is worth 8 metal slimes. So you can grind much faster because each liquid metal slime kill that you get counts as 8. Also, as you see in this chest is a very high value item, and we have the Thief's Key because we cooked it. This do, as soon as you use it, it will heal every member of your party. You just use it, everybody's healed. Very powerful item. It will help us for fights later on. So here at dark, there are very strong enemies that spawn, including liquid metal slimes. And whereas metal slimes spawn in groups of 1 or 2, here we get giant bands of liquid metal slimes. So it's conceivable to have multiple liquid slime kills in each one. Right here, that's 6. Now the reason we're not taking this fight is those 2 enemies in the middle can just wreck our face, as we'll see happens here. So the way this is useful in a route would be then, as soon as you've picked up Angelo, you can jump over here, you can grind some liquid metal slimes, and you can get a bunch of levels very quickly. The only downside is the other enemies can kill you. But after you've grinded on liquid metal slimes, you get tougher and tougher, and it only takes a couple of liquid metal slime kills before you're tough enough to actually take on the liquid metal slimes that are in mixed groups. And so here is the spawn we like. 6 liquid metal slimes in 1 group. And again, you're at the point of the game where you're used to saying there might be 1 metal slime that shows up every X number of battles. Here, liquid metal slimes, first of all, their appearance weight is greater, and they show up in giant gangs like this. So whereas before, you're hoping to get 1 metal slime kill per battle, here, it's possible to get multiple liquid metal slimes, and each one counts as 8. Now our abilities right now are pretty low, so it's difficult for us to kill liquid metal slimes. Also, even though Jessica has really good items right now, her defense isn't very great, so she just has to defend all the time. Once you get the more powerful crit abilities, you can take out multiple liquid metal slimes at the time. Right now we have the lowest level abilities, but once you upgrade to Executioner and everything else, you can take out multiples of these. Also, eventually Jessica gets Accelerate, and so they can go faster and faster, and then you have more shots to take out these liquid metal slimes. And here, because we're such a low level, had to have Yangus defend instead of attack. So characters right now are at the level where you would be when you're grinding on metal slimes, and you see right away one liquid metal slime getting all sorts of levels. Right now in the RTA, the way that the route is set up is at this point, it goes and grinds on metal slimes, and it kills 23, then it comes back and kills more. It ends up killing 45 metal slimes. And as we already talked about, each liquid metal slime is worth 8 of those metal slimes. So first of all, that grind is faster. Also, there's a later grind where you go to Trodan, and you then kill 5 more liquid metal slimes. Well, in Trodan, they spawn at a rate of 1 apiece, and their encounter rate is not as great as over here. So ideally, you would just sit here, camp out. You'd grind as many liquid metal slimes as possible. At some point, you die. Fine, you death warp. You'd come back here again at night. You'd kill even more liquid metal slimes, and you'd do all of your grinding just right here. And this would be all the grinding that you needed to up until the very end of the game when you have the Dragon's Graveyard available to you. And that's probably the only area that has better grinding. And then it's kind of a trade-off whether you grind here or Dragon's Graveyard. The reason why Dragon's Graveyard would be better is because it has a very good spawn where you have King Metal Slimes, and also some other enemies that can revive King Metal Slimes. Because even though King Metal Slimes only show up in groups of 1, and here you get groups of 6 liquid metal slimes, King Metal Slimes are each worth 3 liquid metal slimes. And they will spawn in these certain groups where there are other enemies that can actually revive. So it's possible to have happen that you have a King Metal Slime and a bunch of these enemies that can revive him. You kill the King Metal, they revive him. You kill him again, they revive him. You kill him again, they revive him. It's possible to get multiple King Metal Slime kills in the same encounter because they keep on reviving him, and every time you kill him, even if he's been revived, it counts as an additional kill. Wishers Peak out of bounds. Thank you for watching.